Welcome, riding buddies. Over the years, there have been many changes in the technology of motorcycles. Brakes, suspension, and adding a gearbox were some of the revolutionary changes in the early days. In later years, water cooling, disc brakes, and a single shock suspension revolutionised the world of motorcycles. In recent years, it's been more about electronic aids, traction control, ABS, and launch control amongst them. Is the next big tech change going to be discarding the internal combustion engine completely? Is electric going to be the biggest technology change since the introduction of the motorcycle? Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to John's Motorcycle Mania. It's a proven fact that subscribing will help you understand battery bikes better. Electric powered bikes are not that new. There have been a few attempts at the technology over the years. Of course, there are the small bikes that have been ripping up backyards for a while. But now there is the Sark Varg. Is this thing going to change the off-road racing scene in the way the Yamaha YZF and WRF did? Or will it have as much impact as throwing a bucket of water on the sun? One of the big impacts of motorcycles is noise. The scream of a field of two-strokes, or the ground shaking of the four-strokes. These sounds really make the senses tingle. But is this the sound of the future? There is so much more to the thrill of riding and racing a motorcycle than just the noise. The sensation of landing a down ramp perfectly, railing a rut, and so much more. Looking at the electric sensation through your body from the start, as expected, it's very different to a petrol-powered bike. With no gearbox or clutch, you'll find yourself using a lot more throttle control. This is really a replacement for both of them. The very low vibration is the cause of the bike being less fatiguing on the body as well, I believe. Within 50 metres of riding, Dean pulled up thinking he had flat tyres. But all it was is the noise of the tyres hooking up. You don't normally hear this, and it's a bit of a shock first up. The torque of the electric motor is very different. No hits or surges in the acceleration. Just power to the ground and very fast forward motion. Is it fast? You bet your shiny new helmet it's fast. To be honest, if you set the power to the full 80 horsepower option, you are kidding yourself. Yes, you can select the power you want. With power, you have two models. The standard bike has a 60 horsepower maximum, while the Alpha is the undesoiling 80 horsepower monster. But both bikes can be adjusted in a matter of seconds to be a mild ride to holy crap. You have about 100 different riding modes you can select from. When you order your Sark, you can customize it with what you want. Suspension settings suited to your weight, 18 or 19-inch rear wheels, a side stand for the trail riders, and a foot rear brake or left-hand rear brake, sitting where the clutch would normally be. If you ride mountain bikes, this is not much of an adjustment. But even a die-hard moto rider like him admitted it's actually a good thing once you get your petrol head around it. Really, that's all that's different from a conventional motorcycle. The brakes are Brembo and work amazingly. All suspension is KYB, so you know it's good. You sit up on top of the bike, but everything else just feels like a top-level, high-spec race bike. It does everything you want of a bike extremely well. When you look at the weight, 118 kilograms seems a bit porky for a serious race bike. But when riding, you don't feel the extra weight at all. It doesn't feel any heavier to the current race weapons. Yes, when you go to lift it up onto the stand, you can feel it, but otherwise it's no different. I think this is due to the lack of engine inertial weight. The big question, cost. Yes, you will pay around $2,000 more for the start compared to an equivalent petrol-powered monster. But then things start to get very interesting. No air filter, only about 80 mils of oil to change occasionally, and the motor replacement compared to rebuild is like half. Speaking of engine life, you will be doing a few top to bottom end rebuilds on the petrol engine before you even think of doing anything to the electric motor on the start. That $2,000 disappears very quickly. Everything else is no different to a gas burner. Tyres, chain, sprockets, and the inevitable crash damage is going to be the same. Build quality is excellent. Billet triple clamps, KYB suspension, Brembo brakes, and wheel sets that look very similar to another brand all add to a well-finished weapon. Do I think this is the end of, or not anytime soon? But this is definitely a bike that needs serious consideration. When they are fully approved for competition, they are definitely going to change the sport. Would I own one? Definitely. But I would need to have a petrol bike of some style as well, I think. But we all have more than one bike anyway, don't we? Make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.